Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, one and all. Welcome to the season of giving. And oh boy, do I have something to give you. A while ago, a friend messaged me and jokingly asked if it was possible to beat a Pokemon game using only Present, thinking it would just be a thematic Delibird solo run. For those unaware, Present is the signature move of Delibird. A normal type physical move with 15 PP, 90% accuracy, and variable power. If it hits, it has a 20% chance to just heal the opponent for a quarter of their max HP, a 40% chance to have 40 base power, a 30% chance to have 80 base power, and a 10% chance to have 120 base power. Overall, if we treat healing as just a miss, this results in Present having an average base power of 46.8. Yes, even after all of the randomness that went into it, including a chance to actually heal the opponent, which we discounted, the move is still a complete joke. I informed him that, while Present can be bred onto more Pokemon, the run was still impossible due to Ghost-type Pokemon being immune to Present. Then I thought about it a bit more, thinking about HeartGold and Soul Silver in particular. And so, here we are. The rules of the challenge are as follows. 1. No items in battle, aside from held items. 2. Present is the only move that can be used in battle. 3. If I am forced to ever use a move other than Present, I must reset my last save. I'll be assuming some familiarity with HeartGold and Soul Silver's plot, or at least assuming that you don't care about them that much at least. We begin as usual, with Elm offering us a choice of starter between Cyndaquil, Delibird, and Totodile. Since it's the only Pokemon that naturally aligns Present, we take the Delibird, making sure he's male, and name him Nico. Nico's Vital Spirit does its best to annoy me, as it means wild Pokemon are more likely to be a higher level, causing Nico to struggle against them even more than he would usually. Not literally struggle, that's illegal for this run. Nico one-shots Passerby Boy's Cyndaquil in a move he will never again replicate, before Elm calls to tell us his Cyndaquil has been stolen. Weird coincidence, we just saw a guy with one of those. Overall, while we have to go back to the Pokemon Center often to restore PP due to Present constantly missing or healing and only having 15 PP to begin with, the journey to Violet City is tedious, but not difficult. The same holds for Sprout Tower, where trainers with multiple Pokemon show that they'll really be an annoyance early on for us. Falkner sucks. Falkner sucks real bad. His Pidgey always goes for Sand Attack, further crippling the already terrible Present, and his Pidgeotto has Roost to add on to Nico's healing, in addition to it being a decently high-leveled evolved Pokemon against my Delibird, who has the unbreakable defensive physique of a glow stick. It takes over 10 attempts for a successful run, where Nico manages to take out the monstrously strong level 9 Pidgey in only 2 attacks, and actually does exceptionally well against Pidgeotto, two-shotting it thanks to a high-powered crit, and granting us our first badge of many. We head south to Azalea, avoiding hikers for fear of not being able to take out the rock types, and continue our slow, tedious journey of luck. We clean out the Slowpoke well, Nico being shockingly reliable against Proton, despite Coughing's high defense and Smokescreen. Up next is Silver, who starts with a Ghastly. While this seems impossible to get past, his Ghastly knows a very important move. Curse. Curse lowers his Ghastly's HP by half. We need to switch between Elm's Egg Togepi and a random Rattata I caught, and hope he uses Curse twice before using Mean Look at all, since Mean Look will force us to stay in. Only then do we get a chance at the rest of his team. Surprisingly, this only takes 2 failed attempts before Silver complies, and we get a crack against his Zubat and Quilava. Despite the type disadvantage and new evolution, Nico is still able to take Quilava out fairly easily, and Zubat has no trouble whatsoever, granting us another win. Then, we have to get past Bugsy, who proves to be a major problem. His Scyther can either boost its critical hit rate or lower Nico's defense, and both are bad. In addition, it's holding a Citrus Berry and outspeeds Nico. In fact, it does so much damage so quickly that it looks like the only way to win would be to pray for Present to hit the 10% chance for maximum damage, and then hope it's a critical hit on top of that. Sadly, that doesn't happen, and in many attempts, we rarely even get the Scyther out of the green HP range. Things are starting to look dire. In a grim attempt to get stronger, we grind on level 6 Caterpie to get to level 22 instead. Shockingly, this one level gives Nico enough speed to go first, which gives him more of a fighting chance. This means we more often get Scyther out of the green, and even a few times get Bugsy to use a Super Potion. However, the strategy just isn't holding out. we need something more. Nico and I quickly go to the ruins of Alf and then return, picking up a few things on that journey. A shell bell gives Nico a held item that's at least something, we're able to get a rare candy in the ruins, and we catch a Mareep called Static. Static exists for one reason. I realised that, as I can switch freely so long as present is the only move I use, I can take advantage of abilities. If we can manage to activate Static against Bugsy's Scyther, we might have more of a chance. In addition, we even gained a level on the way there. Attempt 1, it's clear that this strategy could hold water, as we managed to paralyse the Scyther. Unfortunately, Nico lets us down at a critical moment and we lose anyway. But, a few attempts later, Nico decides to actually pull his weight, hitting 2 80s and a 120 to finish the Scyther off without any need for help from Static. Metapod and Kakuna are slow going, but no real issue apart from the real threat of running out of PP. Thankfully though, Nico just barely clutches out the match, taking out Bugsy's Kakuna with only 2 presents left, 11 HP, and being poisoned. Regardless of how smoothly it went, we did it. The Hive badge is ours. Second badge finally in hand, we can finally journey for the third badge in Goldenrod City, with only a Delibird. I concoct a cunning plan and play a bunch of Voltorb Flip to earn a couple of Ekans at the game corner. See, Ekans can have Intimidate, which means that when they're switched in, it lowers the opponent's attack. Having 2 allows me to just switch between them constantly. 2 spooky snakes, Itadamitni and Vegeta, join the party. In my mind, I had managed to trivialise Whitney's Miltank. I was wrong. I had merely made it possible. Whitney's Clefairy is an annoyance, plain and simple, but overall we know we can get past it. Just not reliably, since it depends on what it uses with Metronome. Very rarely is it able to do enough damage to be a major threat though. However, up next comes the Miltank. We absolutely need to intimidate it into the ground, so we switch between Itadamitni and Vegeta to get it down to -6 in attack. We could theoretically paralyse the Miltank with Static, but it's holding a Lumberry, so we need to proc the 30% chance twice. Even at -6, rollout is still a huge threat to Nico. We end up losing this fight over and over and over and over again. Nico simply doesn't do enough damage, so we patch up some holes in our strategy and play more Voltorb Flip to earn Nico a Silk Scarf, which he has done absolutely nothing to earn, but will power up every single one of his usable moves. In addition, we catch another Mareep named Fuzz, who will hopefully give us more chances to paralyse Whitney's Miltank. Nico starts out the fight strong and just one-shots the Clefairy. He's done giving gifts. It's time for slaughter. After our scary single snakes are done spooking the MILF cow, we try to get off the paralysis with our sheep, but are unsuccessful. That means we need to rely on Discount Malsanta to do the job, and he still only does around 1/8 with a weak present hit. It's not looking great. Miraculously, Whitney ends up missing with one of her rollouts, and we just end up with an all-out slugfest between the Gift Giver and the Milk Maker. Nico barely wins the damage race, but win it he does, and once Whitney's done having a breakdown over losing to the Spirit of Christmas, we earn our third badge. This one was hard earned, but it finally opens up the path for us to go north, along the long, long path to Ekrutik. After suffering our way there, especially past a double battle that Nico had to solo, we can finally catch some new Pokemon. Shockingly quickly for their rarity, we capture a Miltank and a Snubble and breed them to get Nico a couple of daughters, Almond the Miltank and Jim Jam the Snubble. Yes, they're only level 1, but they're new Pokemon, real Pokemon that know present. We have a chance. And, most importantly of all, is Almond. Almond makes this run possible. See, Miltank can have Scrappy as its ability, which allows the user's normal type moves to hit ghosts. This means we actually have a way to hurt them, and to beat them. It's all coming together. We spend some time grinding Almond up to snuff so that she can actually take on the Ekrutik gym. This involves fighting every skip trainer, and even going slightly further ahead than the game intends for right now. Along our way, we need to take on Silver and Ghastly once more. However, this time we have a cow with the ability to bestow gifts upon the undead. Uncomfortably though, Silver has picked up a Magnemite. Despite the combination of Thunderwave and Supersonic, Almond is able to knock the Magnemite into the red before falling, allowing Nico to come in and heal it. and then take it out. Thanks, man. I know you mean well. Thankfully, despite this setback, Nico's sheer level alone allows him to still take out Quilava and Zubat, giving us the win first try. We can't postpone Morty any longer, so we'll get right into it. A couple of his Pokemon have Curse, so we brought along some extra Miltank babies to try and stall those out, since they still know present, and so Mean Look isn't a game over. Morty's Ghastly is taken out easily, although not a one-shot. His first Haunter comes out and puts Almond to sleep, meaning we need to do some switching to prevent our dreams from being consumed, before it eventually curses itself to death. Morty goes for the big guns and tries his Gengar out, which leads to a long, uneventful battle, as it only has 5 PP with which to hit Almond. It takes a while, but we're in no danger of its repeated hypnoses, and eventually Almond manages to wear it down. Lacking the gross hypnosis strategies of his original Haunter, this one goes down easily as Almond one-shots it with the most powerful present she could muster. This gives us our first gym battle victory without waiting out, and our 4th badge overall. Not wanting anything to do with either Chuck or Jasmine, I elect to surf east, towards Mahogany Town. This gives Jim Jam some opportunity to gain experience also, now that Almond isn't milking it all. We capture the red Gyarados to replace one of our Ekans, and name our Alpsters. Very shortly after, Jim Jam evolves into Granbull, becoming the most aggressive gift giver we can find. The red Gyarados under our wing, we begin the invasion of the secret Team Rocket HQ. We find the 2 passwords, easily beat Petrol, and then get carried hard by Lance in the Ariana fight, before we're able to move on. I decide we should attempt Price before either of the other 2 options, but it turns out that without good luck, we simply don't have enough strength or numbers to take him out, close though we got. But there's no need to rely on luck, since we can just fight him later. Regardless of gym choice, we have to go to Cianwood next anyway, to pick up the secret potion. It's an uneventful journey since I want to skip every trainer in the water, for reasons. While on the island, I make a fantastic decision to take on the fighting gym with this team of mostly normal type Pokemon, since I've decided legs are overrated when compared to wings. I'm reading out the script as I'm recording this, and that's a really weird... I want the fly HM. That's what that means. Chuck destroys my Intimidate switching strategy on the first attempt by spamming Double Team on his Primeape, so I just can't land hits on him. I do eventually take it out, but my team is just too worn down to defeat his Poliwrath. The next attempt goes significantly smoother. Jim Jam just goes straight for Present and one-shots the Primeape, meaning we're in a significantly better position to take out the Man-Child Frog. First port of call is to just chuck snakes at it, to ensure that the Poliwrath is intimidated into the ground and can't hit us with anything but Surf. A combination of Jim Jam and Almond is able to gift this tadpole into a state of unlife, earning us the Storm Badge. 5th badge in hand, Chuck's wife gives Nico some Red Bull, allowing us to fly back to Olivine and give Amphi his meds. And, from here, we can finally access the Safari Zone, allowing us to catch a Clefairy, a Jigglypuff, and a Marill. We breed these to get babies with Present, bringing our team up to a full 6. Finally! Steiner the Cleffa, Virgilio the Igglybuff, and Serena the Marill join the team of Nico's weird gift-giving family. We head around the world to fight every missing trainer to level up Steiner in an attempt to catch him up, but before long we run out of trainers to fight. All that's left is Price. Price goes a bit worse than was probably necessary. He gets very lucky, avoiding multiple presents in a row, freezing with Blizzard to take out Jim Jam, and having me accidentally bring the wrong team. Wait, that one's not technically on him. Whoops. Other than that though, the fight ends up being a success, with Almond and Jim Jam managing to defeat Price, causing him to at least acknowledge how lucky he was. Before we can get our 6th badge, Steiner evolves. Then we get our 6th badge. Then Steiner evolves again. Out of things to do again, we challenged Jasmine. Oh god. Starting off with the negatives, she has 2 Magnemite, the sight of which caused me to relapse. She also has a Steelix, which has the 2nd highest defense of all Pokemon at the time, and resists my entire wide array of usable moves. Her Magnemite obey the Magnemite laws, and both have Thunder Wave and Supersonic. Thankfully, Almond somehow manages to take out the first one, which is good. Jim Jam then does hefty damage to the 2nd Magnemite, getting paralysed in exchange, surviving a critical Thunderbolt on 3 HP, and taking it out with a critical present. All that remains now is the Steelix. Now, I have a unique strategy for this Steelix. Alpsters works on intimidating the Steelix down to -6 before I reveal my master plan. See, before even coming here and attempting this, I stopped by the cliff cave west of Cianwood and caught 2 Steelix of my own. I ran the numbers, and outside of leveling up to obscene levels, there was just no way to beat this Steelix in a fair fight. So, my own Steelix, Falcon and Drawer, come out. Switching between the 2 of them for around 70 turns, we whittle down Jasmine Steelix's PP until it struggles itself to death, with some bonus presents thrown in from Nico so I could pretend I did something. It took over 25 minutes, but hey, we beat Jasmine. That very legitimate and entertaining league battle finished, we earn our 7th badge. Just one more left now. Sensing that our 7th badge has been acquired, Team Rocket finally decides to take over the radio tower. The forgettable executives go down even more easily than they did before, now that we have more Pokemon under our belt, with Serena even evolving along the way. We reach the top of the radio tower and face Archer, the intern boss of Team Rocket. His Houndour does a number on the newly caught up Steiner, but his terrible team is nothing that we can't handle outside of that. His battle is as forgettable as he is. Team Rocket gone, we're now allowed to pass by the Ridge Candy Bar shop and head to Blackthorn via the ice path. The safety hazard that is the Blackthorn gym actually gives me some cause for concern. We need to go back and heal after near every single battle, as we just aren't prepared to deal with dragon types, having spread the experience so thin across a full team. On the plus side, during the gym, Virgilio evolves twice, completing said full team. Claire is not great. Her Gyarados Dragon Rage ensures that none of our team can tank it for any real length of time, and in addition we have some really bad luck. We barely get through her Gyarados in several attempts, and her Dragonair always just shuts down whoever survived with Thunder Wave. The Gyarados is clearly the problem here though. So, we level everyone up to 40, including Virgilio, since we were very far behind in levels at this point. Shockingly, Virgilio has a use here. His sheer HP when combined with a Citrus Berry allows him to take 5 Dragon Rages to the face and stay standing. Virgilio and Steiner work together to use up Claire's potion and weaken the Gyarados enough for Nico to get a surprising kill. We usually have to rely on Jim Jam to take out a Dragonair by herself, which causes Claire to switch into her Kingdra. Miraculously, Serena whips out a huge 120 crit and just takes the Kingdra out in one hit, which is enough that we have 4 team members left for her Dragonair, which shockingly leads to a victory. This battle took many attempts, and yet Claire still has the audacity to not hand over a badge, despite our winning attempt seeing us finish with 4 Pokemon remaining. We go to the Dragon's Den, leave a 1-star review for Claire on ratemygymleader.com, and receive our well-earned badge, finally allowing us access to the Johto League. First though, we have to deal with the Kimono Girls. Our first attempt starts badly, with a heal, followed by a miss, followed by hurting ourselves in confusion, followed by a heal, followed by hurting ourselves in confusion, against the Umbreon. Yeah, that just happened. Jim Jam manages to get off a hit, which does next to nothing, causing me to realise that the Umbreon is going to be a huge issue. Thankfully, it's then taken out by a big crit, but we don't get much further in this attempt since the bad luck keeps piling up and we don't even manage to KO the Espeon, which is the second of 5. After several failed attempts, and not wanting to grind for simply more levels, we opt to EV train everyone on the team up to 252 EVs in attack, since even against the Espeon we simply didn't deal enough damage. Now, we're ready as we'll ever be. In the successful attempt, I opt to try something different and lead with Serena, since she's dead weight against the Jolteon later. However, she actually ends up doing precisely 0 damage to Umbreon before fainting, so that's fun. Almond knocks the Umbreon down low before also fainting, but thankfully Steiner picks up the slack. Jim Jam barely takes out the Espeon, and in order to abuse Intimidate, I switch out from Jim Jam to Nico against the Flareon, since I know it'll go for Quick Attack, and this gives Nico a chance to pretend he matters as he does a modicum of damage. 2 Intimidates is actually not enough for Jim Jam to lift the Quick Attack, so more fool me I guess. Steiner gets burned but KOs the Flareon. Just 2 more, but we also only have 2, and one of them's burned. Inexplicably, despite the burn and opposing double teams, Steiner is actually able to take out the Jolteon and gets a big hit against the Vaporeon before going down, thankfully allowing Virgilio to barely clutch out the fight with just 22 HP remaining. Having gotten through that difficult ordeal, we're rewarded with the Clear Bell, so let's go see Ho-Oh I guess. 1 Master Ball later, and Kibobbles is ours. All that's left before the championship is Victory Road, which is thankfully empty of all trainers apart from Silver. Unfortunately, that means we need to fight Silver. Compared to the Kimono Girls, however, he's a joke. 5 of his 6 team members aren't even fully evolved, and the only real difficulties here are that we need to be sure Almond is able to take out his Haunter, and that his Magneton exists and follows the sacred laws of Magnemite, having Thunder Wave and Supersonic. Nico's basically become nothing more than a sacrificial pivot at this point, allowing me to switch out of unfavourable matchups without harming any of my actual Pokemon. We win with relative ease given the challenge. Sure, we lose a couple of team members, but that's just kinda how this run goes for every fight. Don't try this at home. With that, we've arrived at the Pokemon League, but we are not even remotely ready. Since we have to contend with how awful Present is while fighting 3 Dragonite at the end, I opt to level all of Nico's generous family up to 50 before even trying, since this is an absolutely ridiculous challenge. Alright, Will's up first. My first attempt sees me have the worst luck I have had in this entire run, no joke. I get 13 heals to 17 attacks, which is ridiculous given the supposed 20% chance. The odds of that happening are roughly 0.085%, which is just awful. The next attempt doesn't start out great, with Almond hitting herself 3 times in a row in confusion before being taken out by Jinx. Thankfully, Steiner gets a big hit against Jinx and takes it out, before also finishing the job with the Xatu from earlier. Exeggutor comes out and sets up a Reflect, but Steiner hits another lucky 120 and knocks it down low before going down. Unfortunately, Will heals up before Serena can take Exeggutor out, but she's still able to win the 1v1. Jim Jam comes out against the Slowbro, and I need her to win this before it starts cursing up a storm. Jim Jam obliges, giving me a scare as she only knocks the Slowbro down to red, but it turns out Will only has 1 full restore, which she already used. His final Xatu is an easy KO for Jim Jam, and we clear out our first Elite Four member. Up next, we have the Poison-type Master, Koga. Almond takes out the Ariados fairly easily, but now it's time for Jim Jam to crack a tough nut. Fortress sets up some Toxic Spikes, which isn't great as Jim Jam just keeps failing to do damage. In the end, Fortress gets bored and takes itself out with Explosion. Steiner switches in against Muck, but is actually immune to Toxic Spikes, which is nice. A back and forth of Present and Minimize, with Present never missing, and Steiner actually takes out Muck without taking damage. Jim Jam comes back out against the Crobat, which manages to get off a couple of double teams before KOing Jim Jam. Serena hits for a third 40 base power in a row, allowing Koga to use his full restore, but makes up for it with a big hit in the next turn, knocking it right back down to the red, before thankfully taking it down before fainting. Steiner misses the Venomoth twice, but then takes it out, giving us our second win. Bruno gives me a lot of cause for fear, since my team is very weak to fighting and struggles to hit rocks. Jim Jam immediately causes Bruno to burn his healing item, and then takes out Hitmontop before it has a chance to really do anything. Almond then one-shots the Hitmonlee, which does mean I miss out on a chance to be swaggered, but I won't look a gift cow in the udder. Almond shows off that impressive cow bulk by managing to live a direct hit from Machamp, knocking it down low before falling next turn, allowing Steiner to get the KO on Bruno's most threatening Pokemon. Jim Jam comes back in an attempt to slowly whittle down the Onix, but ends up failing to deal damage for 3 turns in a row before finally landing a hit. She manages to bite the snake down low, before Serena comes back in to help preserve Jim Jam's Intimidate. Serena finishes the Onix and Jim Jam comes in again to be intimidating in her final moments before being punched out. However, it turns out to have been an irrelevant fear as Steiner near one-shots the Hitmonchan. Bruno actually surprises me by bringing out a second full restore, but this time my skin-winged friend drops the near part and commits a one-hit KO against the punchy Pokemon, giving us our third win. Finally, we have Karen. Karen is the bane of many runs due to her over-reliance on Double Team. But joke's on her, I miss all the time anyway. I lead with Almond, since Present making contact with an Umbreon sometimes causes Karen to realise Ghost is immune to normal and switch in her Gengar, giving Almond a free hit. However, she elected to be a total Karen and not do that, and I need to switch out. Double Team and Confusory give Jim Jam an uphill battle, but she somehow manages to take out the Umbreon anyway. Karen brings in her Gengar next, meaning I have no choice but to rely on Almond. Almond proves she's unreliable by missing and getting hit by Focus Blast, and so we need to switch around Pokemon in order to stall Gengar out of Focus Blasts, since only Almond can harm Ghosts. It hits 4 out of 5 Focus Blasts, and Almond can again safely switch in. However, the clock is ticking due to Spite. Thankfully, Almond comes through for me. Karen lets loose the Houndoom, which Serena decides to completely erase, believing far too strongly in type advantages. My weakened cow comes back out to hit Vileplume very hard before going down, allowing Steiner to perform the finisher. Jim Jam has no struggles taking out the Murkrow, meaning we've officially beaten the Elite Four using only Present. Now, Lance is no joke. At our current level, we need to get lucky to take down even 2 of his Pokemon. In several attempts, we don't even succeed at beating half of Lance's team. This isn't just due to bad luck either. We would need exceptionally good luck to even come close to winning. Lance's team is just insanely stacked against us. 3 Dragonite, a Gyarados with Intimidate, an Aerodactyl resisting every move we have, alongside a Charizard as just a fun bonus, make this easily the hardest fight we've had so far. Giving in with a broken spirit, I decide to level the team up to level 60, around 10 levels higher than where we are. It won't make this trivial by any means, but it should at least make it possible. A couple of failed attempts later, yes, even at level 60, we finally get some luck. We start up with Jim Jam to intimidate the Gyarados, which intimidates us right back. I'm really not sure how that works. From there, we switch in Serena, who easily KOs the Gyarados. Now we need Jim Jam to be able to take out a Dragonite on her own. She actually nearly one-shots despite her paralysis, and then dodges a Thunder to take out Lance's first Dragonite without a scratch on her. He sends out his next Dragonite, and Almond manages to get off some damage against it before the dragon uses Outrage. We switch in Nico as a complete sacrifice to waste Outrage turns, but he ends up foiling that plan by surviving and healing the Dragonite. It hurts itself in confusion twice as Almond misses and heals repeatedly, losing to what should have been an easy win. Thankfully, Steiner is able to outspeed and pick up the slack with a critical hit that may or may not have mattered. It's hard to tell with Present. Almond's mess up was actually so bad that Jim Jam now needs to take out a second Dragonite on her own. I'm afraid of this fact, but Jim Jam actually comes through and bestows my favourite gift of the entire run, one-shotting the Dragonite. This is it. It has to be. Charizard comes in next and Serena misses at a critical moment. She's knocked down low and hits 2 weak presents back to back, giving Lance the chance to heal. Steiner outspeeds Charizard and hits hard, managing to take it out with only 2 gifts. We have 3 Pokemon left, and Lance only has 1. I bring in Jim Jam for the intimidation, and she manages to not flinch or get paralysed, hitting 2 back-to-back presents for around a third of Aerodactyl's HP each. Another Rock Slide comes in, and it's the moment of truth. Jim Jam manages to act, throwing 1 final present, which finally KOs the Aerodactyl, and brings the spirit of Christmas to the entire Johto region. It is finally over! So, can you beat Pokémon HeartGold using only Present? Yes. Yes, you can. Although, doesn't this game have another region in it? Am I really that insane? Is that really something I would consider? Have you even been watching this video? Of course it is. Thankfully, Kanto has much less content, and I'm only going to highlight the important battles rather than any of the plot within the region itself. Lieutenant Surge is our humble beginning, but he really doesn't give us much trouble. The biggest issue is that Surge starts immediately using Double Team. Stop it, Game Freak. Stop it. We have no issues with Raichu, Electabuzz, or either Electrode, leaving Surge with only Magneton. Guess what moves it has? Go on. Guess. You would actually be wrong. The Magnemite Law does not carry over into Kanto, and Surge's Magneton has no access to any kind of paralysis move. It does still retain Supersonic, however, and Double Team, because of course. It actually does quite a number on my Pokemon with Double Team spam, but in the end it simply can't do enough damage with its subpar moves, and it falls, giving us badge number 9 on our first attempt, against all odds. Feeling a renewed sense of the confidence that was shattered by the Elite Four, we challenge Sabrina next. She actually has less Pokemon than Surge, and nothing as threatening as the stupid Magneton. Espeon is no threat whatsoever, and nor is the Mr. Mime. I worry that Alakazam could do well due to Reflect, and she does get very lucky, managing to take out Almond, Steiner, and Jim Jam, while Alakazam takes very little damage itself. Thankfully, Virgilio decides to do the only useful thing he's done all run, and finally put an end to this madness, giving us badge number 10, also on our first try. Erika's up next, and as always, Almond does very well as our lead. She weakens Jumpluff and Blossom and takes out Victory Bell. Erika actually has a pretty nasty strategy with Sunny Day and Solar Beam, and I didn't bring Nico since I needed someone who could use Cut, so I just had to tank the hits in an unresisted manner. Still, Her Pokemon are nothing compared to the Dragonite that battle-hardened my team, and we very quickly knock her down to only one remaining. Tangela could be a threat due to its high defense and Giga Drain, but at the end of the day it's just a Tangela. And we have enough bodies left to throw at it that victory is inevitable, as Steiner shows with a happy crit. Badge number 11. Still no whiteouts in Kanto. Time for Janine, the weakest Kanto gym leader. With levels lower than Lance's and Pokemon that don't even remotely compare, it's really not a hard fight. Even Virgilio manages to take out a Pokemon, albeit barely. Jim Jam actually misses twice, giving Weezing a huge lead, but then just one-shots it like the crazy festive spirit she is. Despite Double Team, Venomoth is a complete joke for being her ace, and is defeated by Steiner with ease. Serena one-shots her first Ariados, and Almond brings us home by defeating her second one, earning us our 12th badge and embarrassing Janine thoroughly. I fought random trainers harder than this. After we fixed the power issues in the region, we're able to face off against Misty. Starting us off strong, Almond misses, but then takes out the Golduck in one hit. I know I'm really hammering on the point, but we have to give a serious thank you to Lance for forcing us to level up so high. It made Kanto much easier. After a brief bout with the old Dreamies and some Ice Beamies, Jim Jam manages to defeat Lapras. Steiner does Steiner things and actually takes out Starmie despite the confusion and constant missing. And Misty's left with only a Quagsire against my full team. You can probably guess how that goes for her. Moo. 13th badge done, our 5th in a row with no whiteouts, and we didn't even lose any Pokemon here. This is going so well! Deep inside of Mount Lava Lava, we encounter Blaine. Leading with Macargo isn't great for us, since it resists Present and sets up the sun. Also, Steiner forgot his glasses at home and so misses twice in a row. I do the obvious and sack Nico to bait overheat stat drops. Such is his purpose in life. Jim Jam helps me to showcase that while Macargo has good defense, its HP isn't great, and so it can still be weakened with just Present, even if it takes like a million turns thanks to full restores and failed deliveries before Steiner finally picks up the spare. That was Blaine's only really interesting Pokemon though, as Magmar is struck down instantly by Steiner, and Rapidash is just a terrible ace for this late in the game, falling to just a couple of presents from Serena, if we ignore the one in the middle where she healed it. That is 14 badges, and once again, that was our first try. However, that ends here. Brock is up next, and he sucks. He has 5 Pokemon that all resist Present, which isn't great when it's your only move. His Graveler loves to lead with Defense Curl too, just to flex on me. We need to hold for critical hits to get through that, otherwise we're going to be realistically unable to win due to Present's 20% chance to heal. Weirdly, his Rhyhorn cannot damage Nico in any way. Strange to finally have the little Santa Bird effectively walling something. The Omastar is bad though. It's very hard to deal damage to, has Protect to stall me out, and can actually deal good damage back against my team with Brine. Kabutops is a similar story, only it's less threatening offensively since I always have Jim Jam and Almond to deal with physical attackers. His final Pokemon, Onix, has next to no offensive presence, but can be difficult to KO. This first fight against Brock is actually exceptionally lucky, and if he didn't whip out a full restore right near the end, we may have actually won had Nico not sabotaged the attempt by repeatedly healing and missing with Present until he ran out of PP. Oh, how I wish that had been the case. We don't even come anywhere near close to that again, proving that we got insanely lucky that first time. And so, we level up once more, this time to 70. Now, this jump might seem like overkill, but the goal was for this to be the last time we needed to increase our level. And it certainly didn't make Brock free at all. Oh, wait, it actually kinda did, and we win with most of our team intact. Whoops. Guess I only needed to hit 65 or so. Somehow this is Nico's fault. Look, this run was beginning to break me by this point. And I knew the biggest challenge was still to come. Still, now that we have 15 badges, we're free to battle Blue and yeah, we lose this one several times too. Simply unable to get through his Rhydon before it stomps me with its powerful moves. I really didn't want to have to level up again, but this was just not happening. Let me remind you again that Present has an average base power of 46.8. Sure, I could just keep trying again and again and again and again until I get that magical battle where every Present is max powered and a critical hit. But it turns out that in order to make the battles feasible in this timeline, while you're using a Delibird that can only use a move with an average base power of 46.8, you gotta level up just that little bit more. Blue's Executor always opens with Trick Room, which is actually bad for us, since despite how slow all of these Pokemon usually are, they're such a high level by this point, by necessity, that they actually outspeed most things. Miraculously, the Executor misses with 2 Hypnoses in a row, and Steiner's able to take it out. Next up is Machamp, and this is where the Trick Room comes into play, since it actually outspeeds Jim Jam due to her level. However, the Trick Room wears off immediately afterwards, effectively giving Jim Jam 2 turns in a row, which she capitalises on to take out said Machamp. Up next, we abuse Nico to both counter Arcanine's Intimidate, and to get lots of recoil damage off on it from Flare Blitz. See? Delibird isn't useless at all. Serena actually takes out the Arcanine from there, which is insane. Next, we have the Big Wall Rhydon itself to deal with. Jim Jam feels like the best bet for this due to her high damage output, but even that barely dents the thing. We need serious luck here, and we do not get it, as Blue hits us with 2 critical Stone Edges. Inexplicably, Steiner manages to knock out the Rhydon from where it was with a surprise max damage present. However, the battle isn't over yet. Gyarados comes out and gets off 2 Dragon Dances, which is insanely bad. Serena doesn't even do half, but neither does Return, since Blue is horrible to his Pokemon. A high roll next turn, and the False Dragon is defeated. Now it's only his Pidgeot left, and I think you know by now that this victory is all but guaranteed. Indeed, Almond makes quick work of the bird, and earns us our 16th and final badge. I know that probably looked easy, but I really need to stress how lucky that run was. In the other attempts against Blue, including one after leveling up, we didn't even get close to getting past Rhydon. He still had half of his team remaining. Don't let the successful attempt trick you into thinking that this run is anything short of horrible. Well, now there is but one thing awaiting us before we've truly beaten this game. And quite frankly, let's not even pretend it's going to be possible at level 75. In fact, before even entertaining the possibility of beating Red, we level everyone up to 85, apart from Nico, who gets to go to 90. He needs the boost. We fight Red, it's not even close. We try again, and once again, it's a complete stomp. I try leveling everyone up to 90, apart from Nico, who gets to go to 95. He needs the boost. We get a little bit closer now, but it's still bad. Just in case that was unlucky, I try again and again, but no, this just isn't happening. This is it. I'm not happy with the idea of this, but it turns out we actually need to reach level 95 on the entire team, apart from Nico, who gets to go to 99. He needs the boost. So, let's see what's possible at this level. We're insanely close to the cap now, but yet we don't actually outlevel Red by as much as you might expect, since his Pokemon are all really powerful. If we can't do it here, then more levels really aren't going to be what makes the difference. This is the final chance. He opens with his Pikachu, and I open with Nico? Okay, clearly I've lost it. In reality, this was actually a strategy, but it unfortunately didn't work in this fight. The goal was for Nico to outspeed and hit hard, and then take the Pikachu down with him when he used Volt Tackle. I tried this out with a Focus Sash in prior runs, but since the Pikachu has Quick Attack anyway, it was better to just equip a Silk Scarf. Unfortunately, it went for Thunderbolt here and left me looking like a plum. Thankfully, Almond can pick up the spare that Nico left behind. Blastoise is Red's strongest Pokemon as far as I'm concerned. It can tank anything I throw at it and hit back hard. It gets a stupid freeze, but Steiner's Burning Passion thaws him out immediately. Focus Blast deals so much damage it can't even be comprehended, but Steiner nails just enough damage for the hail to take out Blastoise. That move, right there, is the only thing giving us a fighting chance right now. I'm not kidding. Virgilio does badly against Venusaur, being put to sleep instantly and then being pelted with Sludge Bombs until death, completely trashing one of my Pokemon. With Nico also having been a waste, it's not looking good. Thankfully, the hail has been helping out a lot, and so I pray that Steiner will be able to revenge kill. He doesn't quite, even with the hail, and gets knocked out for his troubles. I need to hope Almond can do this, but it sucks that Red immediately heals. However, Almond does not care, getting a critical hit that puts us in a fantastic position of both having 3 Pokemon remaining. I need to trust that Serena can beat Charizard, which means we need to get lucky enough for Air Slash not to flinch. She knocks it straight into the red, which isn't good enough, since another full restore this way comes. This time, the attack does barely a third. To make matters worse, Air Slash crits and Serena gets another low roll. Thankfully, Almond outspeeds and evens the battle down to a 2v2. She stays in versus Lapras because I need Jim Jam's sheer strength and Intimidate for Snorlax. Present does a lot, but so does Blizzard, and another one will KO me. And then, Almond rolls low. But she somehow survives the hail on 1 HP as Red uses another full restore, giving her one more chance to redeem herself. She rolls low. It's over by this point. And this was a lucky battle. Jim Jam comes out anyway and attempts to do what she can, surprising me by outspeeding. However, she just knocks the Lapras below half and really can't withstand many more attacks after a painful blizzard. Her next present takes the Lapras down, and I start to be filled with false hope. I mean, Snorlax has really bad defense. Maybe Jim Jam can do this. She outspeeds, but it only does around a third. Blizzard hits hard and Jim Jam can't withstand another one. This is it. One final present. One more gift underneath the tree. That small one that you forgot about because all of the larger packages obscured it. Our last chance. She rolls maximum damage on that final hit. Only a 10% chance, but nothing else could have won that battle. It is, as they say, a Christmas miracle. So, to really answer that question from earlier, can you beat Pokémon HeartGold using only present? Yes, you can. All the way to red. But should you? Absolutely not. Go and spend time with your families or something instead. You know it's possible now, so there's no need to try it for yourself. This challenge was so much harder than it probably looked, because I skipped past the majority of the losses we had and jumped straight to boss fights. You didn't get to see the early game routes when all we had was Nico, meaning we only had 15 PP between Pokemon Centres. A lot of this run's difficulty came from how it just beat me down again and again. But I gained an ironic love for Delibird and a genuine love for Granbull out of the deal, so I'd say it fulfilled its purpose as a Pokemon challenge. This entire challenge was streamed over my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/GuineaLottie, so if you would have preferred to see the suffering live, feel free to check me out there sometime. I stream fairly often. Other than that, if you enjoyed what you saw, please do consider subscribing or liking the video. It helps a lot. Or so I hear, I actually don't really know for sure. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Happy holidays to you and your family.